but live in real life, understanding real life, I don't know how you can be comfortable with false concepts in your head. That would drive me absolutely batty. I heard someone say as recently as a few days ago, Obama was born in Kenya and he's a Muslim. Oh my God. I'm not even going there. That's the person that wants to believe that. No, let her believe it. Let her believe it. It's time to stand up when people lie and say something. It's time to stand up when they try to peddle these false little treats, these little political and ideological and religious treats that they share with you. Ooh, have this. It tastes tasty. And look at this. This guy's a little fuckhead. Look here. Stand up and say, no, that's actually, there's no evidence for that. Could you give me your source, please? You can be very polite about it. And you can watch as they make the deer in the headlights look. What do you mean, source? I heard it on the news, I think. Read the paper, you'll find it. Yeah, that's not very accurate. I was looking for something more specific. Speaking of specific lies, we've got a couple here. I think I'll play you one. Let's listen to what's going on with people lying in the media. I've got a couple that I like to pick on. But first, I think we'll listen to a situation where Bill Maher, who most people on the right can't stand, and he is an asshole, has a little thing going on with Bill O'Reilly. I played a clip, I don't know, 5 shows ago about this false $200 million a day trip that the president was taking. Yeah, let's listen to this and see how the facts work out on this. See if that works out.
Liberal Viewer presents.
So last week, when a variety of Fox News anchors spread the misinformation that President Obama's 10-day trip to India and other Asian countries was costing American taxpayers $200 million a day, without ever checking the accuracy of the vastly overstated report, it was typical of Fox News' counterfactual, anti-Obama news style, but Fox News opinion journalist Bill O'Reilly still couldn't own up to what his own network had done when he appeared for an interview last Friday on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, where you can see Bill O'Reilly backtracking through multiple levels of dishonesty in an answer to Bill Maher's question about the bogus report here.
Let me ask you this. This week we found out that from Fox News people and Rush Limbaugh, several conservatives, that Obama is spending $200 million a day on his trip to India.
And that's bull.
I know.
It wasn't Fox News reporting it. It came from a guy in India, picked up by the Drudge Report, and then disseminated by certain other people.
On Fox
Our hard news people didn't do it.
Now, just to be clear, the same day Bill O'Reilly told Bill Maher there that Fox News didn't report this story, Fox News anchor Ainsley Earhardt over on Fox and Friends was reading news headlines reporting the $200 million a day number without any fact-checking, as you can see, for example, in this clip.
In less than 3 hours, our president will head to India. The president's plane will stop at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany to refuel before heading to Mumbai. It's the start of a 10-day trip through India, Indonesia, South Korea, as well as Japan. The main focus there, the economy. The president is urging those countries to buy more American goods. The White House dismissing reports that the trip is going to cost you, the American taxpayer, $200 million a day. Lots of money. Those are your headlines.
Now, if those were our headlines, but we weren't supposed to consider them actual news, I'm not sure how anyone is supposed to tell the difference, but even if you consider Fox and Friends soft news or Beck, O'Reilly, and Hannity opinion news, that still doesn't relieve Fox News of responsibility for those shows' factual accuracy, which is why I don't accept the continuation of Bill O'Reilly's defense of Fox News to Bill Maher here.
Who?
Sean Hannity.
Look, Sean is a commentator, a talk radio guy. That's not Fox.
But he's presenting that as a fact. It's not his opinion that it was $200 million.
Then you got to take it up with Hannity. But there's a difference between the opinion people and the hard news people.
There is?
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm an opinion guy.
Now, Bill O'Reilly may be an opinion guy, and that may relieve him of some responsibility for being balanced in his presentation, but it still doesn't relieve him or Fox News of responsibility for getting their facts straight, as Joan Walsh of Salon.com argued accurately on CNN's Reliable Sources last Sunday in this clip.
I think even conservatives and even liberals, opinion journalists, really have an obligation to check their facts. So it's not just that Hannity, he's going to blow up, he's just going to blow off steam. He's putting out lies. He's not doing the basic groundwork to figure out if they're true.
Okay.
That's not good journalism from the left or the right.
And Joan Walsh is right, and I'm glad to see someone on CNN making that point I never see made on Fox News, but the need for even opinion journalists to be factually accurate is not the only flaw in the Bill O'Reilly defense of Fox News reporting that Bill Maher should just take it up with Sean Hannity, because the Fox News misreporting of the cost of Obama's trip to Asia went well beyond just Hannity or Fox and Friends in what looked like a concerted effort at misinformation chronicled on Monday in a great segment on The Daily Show that included the video montage of Fox misinformation in this clip.
Big controversy as to what the real cost of the trip is.
It's going to cost about $200 million a day for this entourage to go.
$200 million a day, 3,000 people.
As much as $1 billion for the trip.
$500 million. It's going to be somewhere around there. Some people say that it is up to $2 billion for 10 days.
Why don't you shut your ass up?
I don't know. And how many ships will be there? 34 warships, possibly. I don't know.
He's just saying.
And not only did Jon Stewart show the disingenuous way several Fox News anchors spread the bogus report, but this great Daily Show segment you can see in full at tinyurl.com/StewartScuresFox then went on to totally skewer Glenn Beck for claiming there not to know the accuracy of the reported cost of Obama's trip he spread on Fox News after reporting the bogus story with full confidence on his radio show a few hours before. But maybe the best part of the Daily Show segment was the way they used video from the White House, the Pentagon, NBC, and CNN to show how easy the bogus story would have been for Fox News to check, as you can see in this clip.
This trip doesn't cost $200 million a day.
Some 34 ships and an aircraft carrier in support of the president's trip to Asia. That's just comical.
Just to put it in perspective, it costs about $190 million a day to execute the war in Afghanistan.
That $200 million a day figure, where'd that come from? Well, that was in a quote by an alleged Indian provincial official.
Oh my God, Fox has been outsourcing even their bull manufacturing jobs.
Down goes Fraser! Down goes Fraser! Down goes Fraser!
Rather than the punchline, because Fox News' counterfactual anti-Obama news style has basically become common knowledge among all but the most ignorant, whether willfully ignorant or otherwise, which may explain why Bill O'Reilly back in his HBO interview couldn't even bring himself to unconditionally argue for Fox News' factual accuracy when Bill Maher asked him about a recent Bloomberg poll showing a majority of voters believe the misinformation about the first 2 years of the Obama administration Maher listed here.
Taxes have gone up, that the economy has shrunk, and that the TARP money will never be recovered. So in other words, they got everything wrong. Do you think Fox News bears any responsibility for people having bad information?
You know, unless we report bad information. You got a bunch of seals in there? What's going on in there?
We have turkey buzzards, Bill.
Okay. Unless Fox News is reporting bad information, then we're not responsible for bad information.
Why don't you shut your ass up?
Fox News is reporting bad information, then they're not responsible for bad information? Given the wealth of bad information Fox News has been caught reporting from so many sources, from The Daily Show to CNN's reliable sources to my own Fox News bias playlist, I think the resolution to Bill O'Reilly's conditional statement is pretty obvious, but I want to know what you think. Isn't there ample evidence that Fox News is both reporting bad information and that they're responsible for bad information? And given that evidence, wasn't...
And that would be a yes. But Bill O'Reilly himself definitely got Obama cornered. And what happened when that happened? This happened.
Believe that you did not tell the world it was a terror attack because your campaign didn't want that out.
Bill,
That's what they believe.
And they believe it because folks like you are telling them that.
I'm not telling them that. I'm asking you. You were told it was a terror attack.
And what I'm saying is that is inaccurate.
All right.
We revealed to the American people exactly what we understood at the time. The notion that we would hide the ball for political purposes when a week later we all said, in fact, there was a terrorist attack taking place the day after I said it was an act of terror. That wouldn't be a very good cover-up if that's what we were engaged in.
I got to get to the... Some people are saying is that the IRS was used at a local...
Now, one thing I recommend you do anytime you're in an interview, especially if it's kind of a high-pressure interrogation interview, that is for political consumption, not like a legal interview, when you hear some people say, everybody's saying, a lot of people think, stop them and say, could you just tell me which ones? What's your source? Real quick. because most of the time you're going to get the deer in the headlights. Now, maybe they've done their research, and if so, they'll be able to answer your question, and you can move on with the audience having a better understanding of who these some people are. I'm so fucking sick of hearing some people say. Which people? Which people? Half the time, nobody said it. They just think some people think it, or they just think some people would say it, or they think a lot of people are saying. And they have no evidence that that's actually true. But then again, truth, not very important to everybody. No. Let's see how this...
Absolutely wrong.
But how do you know that? Because we still don't know what happened there.
Bill, we do. That's not what happened. Folks have, again, had multiple hearings on this. I mean, these kinds of things keep on surfacing, in part because you and your TV station will promote them.
But there are unanswered questions.
Bill, when you actually look at the stuff, there have been multiple hearings on it. What happened here is that you've got a 501c4 law that people think is confusing, that the folks did not know how to implement. Okay. Because it basically says,
so you're saying if you're involved, no corruption there at all? No.
That's not what I'm saying. That's actually...
No, but I want to know what you're saying. You're the leader of the country. You're saying no corruption.
No.
None.
No. There were some boneheaded decisions out of a
but
local
no mass
office.
Corruption.
Not even mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Now, one area that I'm going to disagree with Obama with right there is to suggest that the IRS doesn't even have a smidgen of corruption. That would not be in line with what we know about organizations that have power. You got to have a few. You got to have a few in there. Yeah, you got to. I'm going to audit you. Oh man, if I give you $5,000, can you close this file? Yeah, sure, no problem. You know what's going on here and there. I'm not saying it's a mass thing, but to say not even a smidgen, you're going way out on a limb there. Just not accurate. Couldn't be accurate. It defies human nature. People in positions of power, at least on a small scale, depending on how honorable the organization is, are going to commit corrupt acts. So I'm surprised he answered that way to Bill. I really am. Do I have anything else with the lying? Well, I'll tell you something. You know, I've been beaten up on liars, and it does bother me. But I also like to present counter arguments to my own argument, and it helps me to illustrate things. Let's talk for a second with a guy that Christians love to hate here, Richard Dawkins, about scientific thinking and moral philosophy. Now, this is when you got to get into, when is it okay to lie? Is it ever okay to lie? It's a good question, I think. It's one that needs to be asked. We're going to see what he thinks about it right here.
Science is not in the business of shedding light on moral debates, but I think it can do sometimes. The whole subject of moral philosophy, of examining moral questions in a logical way to expose inconsistencies, for example. When you're looking at moral questions, so-called moral questions like abortion or euthanasia, you can show that people who take a very strong absolutist line may be being inconsistent with themselves because they are taking a strong line on one thing while at the same time inconsistently not taking a similarly strong line on another. So that would be a scientific way of thinking. It's not science per se, it's moral philosophy, but it's a kind of scientific way of thinking. But also I think scientific facts can illuminate moral debate. In the case of abortion, again, for example, a scientist might contribute to the debate information about at what point during the development of an embryo the nervous system comes into being. And presumably before the nervous system comes into existence, there is no ability to feel pain or to suffer. And so maybe something important happens at the moment when the nervous system comes into being. On the other hand, you might say, well, even when a human embryo develops a nervous system and develops the capacity to perhaps suffer, it's still a much smaller nervous system than the nervous system of an adult cow. And so what about balancing the suffering of a human embryo against the suffering of an adult cow when it's being slaughtered for meat? An absolutist moralist would say, well, humans are just plain special, and cows are not humans, so they don't deserve the same moral consideration. But a scientist might come along and say, well, what do you mean by that? I mean,